While everyone else is fighting over bottled water at Walmart, there's a store 2 miles away that most civilians never even think about. Tractor Supply Company. There are 7 items inside that store right now that a retired Green Beret has been quietly stockpiling for 11 years. Not tactical gear. Not freeze-dried food. The reason he goes to Tractor Supply instead of the survival gear aisle at Bass Pro, he told me most preppers are wasting money in the wrong stores. He has 90 pounds of one item in a sealed 55-gallon drum in his barn. You can buy it right now at Tractor Supply for $18.99. Item number 3 is something farmers have used for 200 years that the prepper market has almost completely ignored. A retired Special Forces 18D calls it the most versatile medical supply outside a hospital. The one that stopped me cold, sitting in the agricultural supplies section for decades. Ranchers know it. Farmers know it. Preppers almost never talk about it. When the grid goes down, it becomes irreplaceable. His name is Frank. He spent 18 years in Special Forces, including 2 combat deployments and time as a SEER instructor. He showed me his storage room. The civilian prepper market shops at the same stores every panicking civilian shops at. Farmers and ranchers have been solving the same problems for 200 years. The solutions are already there. Preppers just don't know the store. Most preppers are shopping for the scenario they've seen on YouTube. Everyone in tactical gear with $3,000 worth of freeze-dried meals in a bug-out cabin on 40 acres. That's not what a regional grid-down event looks like. It's day 2. Water pressure is dropping. The generator is burning through fuel faster than expected. Medical supplies already half depleted. 3 specific things needed, and every Walmart, Home Depot, and Bass Pro in 30 miles has been stripped clean. But Tractor Supply? Still stocked. 200 years of agricultural problem solving. 1 store. 7 items. Let's go. Item 7. Food-grade diatomaceous earth. 50-pound bag. $29.99. Garden and pest section. White powder made from fossilized aquatic organisms, non-toxic to humans, lethal to insects with exoskeletons. In any extended emergency scenario, 14 days, 30 days, longer, pest and vermin control becomes a serious survival problem. When sanitation isn't running, rodent and insect populations explode. Food-grade DE applied around food storage areas kills crawling insects by mechanical abrasion. No electricity. No chemical refills. Apply once, stays active as long as it stays dry. Frank said, "We plan for food, water, medicine, security." On day 11 or 14, the rodents showed up. Every time. Pest control is not a comfort issue. It's a food security issue. $29.99 for 50 pounds of pest control, food storage protection, and livestock parasite management. Shelf life measured in decades if stored dry. No electricity. No chemical degradation. Item 6. Manual T-post driver. $34.99. Fencing section. Heavy steel tube, sealed at one end, handles on the sides. No power, no fuel, no maintenance. Lasts forever. In an extended grid-down or civil unrest scenario, your ability to establish rapid physical perimeter markers is a security and psychological stabilization capability. T-posts set with wire creates a visible barrier, clear demarcation of your property boundary. In any scenario where civil authority has reduced response capacity, visible property marking deters casual intrusion. The Marine told me, a farmer can set up a shelter or perimeter fence in an open field with nothing but a post driver and wire. No power. No gear. It scales directly to emergency scenarios. A $35 steel tube that sets shelter anchors and perimeter markers anywhere, in any soil, with no power and no fuel. There is no tactical gear equivalent at that price point. Item 5. Vetericin Plus All Animal Wound Care Spray. $19.99. Livestock section. A former Special Forces medical sergeant keeps this in his truck, his go bag, and his home medical kit. If I had to pick one wound care product to carry in a pocket and use on any wound, human or animal, in any field condition without running water or a sterile environment, it would be this. The active ingredient is hypochlorous acid, the same compound your white blood cells produce to fight infection. FDA cleared for human use despite being marketed for animals. Unlike hydrogen peroxide, which most preppers carry and which actually damages healing tissue cells along with bacteria, Berets kills pathogens without harming surrounding healthy tissue. Connor said, hydrogen peroxide feels like it's doing something because it foams and stings. It's doing something, it's damaging your tissue. Berets doesn't feel like much. It's doing more. No rinse required. Works on humans and animals. One product covers the wound care needs of every living thing on your property in a grid-down scenario. Item 4. K1 Kerosene. $6.99 to $8.99 per gallon. Fuel section. Frank said, everyone argues about gasoline versus propane. Nobody's talking about the fuel that's been heating homes and cooking food for 150 years. Gasoline degrades in storage in 30 to 60 days without stabilizer. Properly stored K1 kerosene remains stable and usable for 5 to 10 years or longer. No stabilizer required. Kerosene has a flash point of approximately 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Gasoline is explosive at -45 degrees. Storing 20 gallons of kerosene is categorically safer than storing 5 gallons of gasoline. K1 kerosene works with kerosene heaters, oil lamps, certain camping stoves, and in emergencies as a diesel supplement. One fuel. Multiple applications. Frank said, I have 40 gallons of K1. Been there 3 years. Not rotating it. It'll be fine for another 7 years minimum. 3 kerosene heaters and 4 oil lamps. Grid down tonight, I have heat and light for a month. $400 for heat, light, and emergency cooking capability. Stored safely. Stable for a decade. From a fuel that's been solving this problem for 150 years. Item 3. Large volume sterile saline solution. $8.99 to $11.99. Animal health section. Connor calls it the irrigation gap. Most preppers have a tiny 7-ounce can. Not enough. The saline in these livestock products is the same 0.9% sodium chloride solution used in hospital wound care. Same concentration. Same sterility standard. 1/4 of the hospital cost. Wound irrigation, physically flushing debris and bacteria from a wound under pressure before dressing, is the single most effective field intervention for preventing wound infection. A 7-ounce can covers one small wound irrigation. A 32-ounce bottle covers multiple wounds, or one significant wound properly irrigated. Volume matters. Volume is the variable. Connor said, irrigate, then dress. In that order. Every time. That sequence reduces wound infection rates by a margin that no antibiotic ointment can compensate for if you skip the irrigation step. Your antibiotic ointment cannot compensate for skipping irrigation. A $9.99 bottle at Tractor Supply is more important than the antibiotic in your $250 survival kit. Item 2. Hydrated lime. 50-pound bag. $9.99 to $14.99. Garden section. It's day 5 of a blackout. Waste management is working. But now the smell, the flies, the contamination risk. Farmers solved this 100 years ago. Hydrated lime, calcium hydroxide, does 3 critical things: odor neutralization, fly and vermin deterrence, and pathogen reduction in waste areas. One application of lime over a waste area cuts odor by 70 to 90% immediately. Not a comfort issue, a human dignity and morale issue that has real effects on group psychological stability. Lime at sufficient concentration kills E. coli, salmonella, and many parasites in waste areas. Not sterilization, but significant pathogen load reduction. Standard military field sanitation for over a century. Frank said, people plan for getting shot. They don't plan for cholera. They don't plan for the fly-borne disease transmission that happens with human waste accumulation. Lime addresses all of it for $10. 4 50-pound bags. $40. Disease prevention capability for an extended grid-down event. Sitting in the garden section at Tractor Supply right now, completely untouched. Item 1. Frank opened the door to a room adjacent to his barn. Along one wall, 4 sealed 55-gallon food-grade drums. Each one containing the same thing. I said, "How long will that last your family?" He said, 3 years. Minimum. I said, "What is it?" He said, "Hard red winter wheat. From the Tractor Supply feed section. The same wheat that's been feeding people through famines, wars, and collapses for 10,000 years. Hard red winter wheat berry. $18.99 to $22.99 for a 50-pound bag. Feed section. It's food-grade grain, the same grain that goes into human flour production, sold in the agricultural feed section. Stored correctly in sealed food-grade containers, 25 to 30-year shelf life. Cost per calorie, at $18.99 for 50 pounds, that's approximately $0.025 per 100 calories, a fraction of freeze-dried meals or any purpose-marketed emergency food product. Whole wheat berries can be ground into flour, sprouted for fresh greens, cooked whole like rice, cracked for porridge, or fermented. 1 ingredient. 5 separate use cases. Frank said, most preppers buy food that's already processed. Wheat berries are a production input. You're not just storing food. You're storing the capacity to make food. That's what a 10,000-year food staple gives you. An 18-year Special Forces veteran, a SEER instructor, a man who's thought about survival at a level most of us can't access, and his #1 item from Tractor Supply is a $19 bag of wheat. 10,000 years of human survival. One $19 bag at Tractor Supply. That's the gap between what the prepper market sells and what actually works. Walking out of his storage room, Frank stopped. I almost forgot the one that makes all of this work. He pointed to a corner shelf. A hand-operated grain mill. Without the mill, 90 pounds of wheat berries is grain you can cook. With a mill, it becomes a 3-year flour supply. Actual bread. Biscuits. Pancakes. In a grid-down scenario, that's what keeps people sane. Frank said, $189. 8 years. 400 pounds of flour. My family eats actual bread. In a grid-down scenario, that's not a luxury. That's what keeps people sane. The complete system. Total cost for items 1 through 7, approximately $130 to $160 for a first purchase. Pest control, field shelter, wound care, a decade of stable fuel, wound irrigation, sanitation, and a 3-year food foundation. Get to Tractor Supply before you need to. Stay sharp.